Welcome to the Influencer Show with your host, Trishawn Ben Salmi.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Influencer Show where I interview people who can help influence the way you live life in a number of different ways. I'm your host, C7, and today we have a very special guest with us. So if you'd like to introduce yourself to listeners and let them know a little bit about you.
Yeah, hi Trey, hi everybody. My name is James Mason. I'm the Chief Executive at Welcome to Yorkshire, and here I am in my house in Yorkshire up in Leeds. Unfortunately, not been able to work in the office for the past 3 months, but that's fine. We're all used to this way of working now. Welcome to Yorkshire is the tourism agency, and we're responsible for attracting people to come and visit Yorkshire. Live in Yorkshire, study in Yorkshire, work in Yorkshire, and that's to attract them from all over the world. The economy is worth about £9 billion, and we employ just under 250,000 people, so it's quite significant. Real challenge at the moment with the COVID-19 virus. But Yorkshire, if you've never been, is a beautiful county. It's the biggest county in the UK, and it has the very best of everything that you would expect to imagine to find in England or the British Isles. We have a coastline which has got some of the prettiest beaches and the cleanest beaches in the country. We have 2 national parks, the Dales National Park and the North York Moors National Park, which are areas of outstanding geographical beauty with wonderful wildlife, rolling hills, mountains and lakes and forests and wonderful wildlife. And then we've got many, many visitor attractions such as York Minster, a wonderful architectural piece of just stunning magnitude. But then also we've got vibrant cities, we've got plenty of abbeys, we've got the best food and drink in the world. I could go on and on. It's a place to visit, and if you haven't visited Trey, come and see me. You must come.
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's cool.
And why don't you share with the listeners why you do what you do?
I suppose why I do what I do is I'm extremely passionate about the county that I live in and the county that I was born in. I've been really lucky enough to do a couple of really exciting jobs throughout my career. I trained as a journalist originally, and I worked for the BBC as a football reporter, so that was pretty cool, going to live, football matches. I covered Manchester United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City at the very end of my career, but I started out covering, teams a lot smaller than that in the lower divisions, but, everyone's got to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. And actually that was the best thing that can happen to anyone, learning from the bottom up, getting your mistakes out there, learning how to do things properly, learning your skill set, making your way in the world. It can't always be easy. You've got to go through that difficult, challenging period to test yourself and see if you've got resilience. So that was brilliant. Did that for a number of years. I also had a couple of business interests, so ran some businesses whilst being a journalist. And eventually, Trey, I got the opportunity to work for Bradford City, my hometown football club. I took the opportunity to work for them and did that for 4 years. So I was combining that journalism with marketing and sales and business. So I suppose all this sort of led me to working at Welcome to Yorkshire, just a career of building slowly but surely different skill sets, different environments, different people, different scenarios, bigger organizations each time. And then, we'll probably come on to how we met, but I worked for a sports agency for a couple of years, working with young kids, talented sportsmen and women, but also academics, and taking them out to study in America, which was a brilliant couple of years for me. And that's where I probably learned most about tourism and travel, which is how I ended up today working for a tourism agency. It's a long-winded answer, Trey, but there you go. That's how I got here.
That's absolutely amazing, and thank you for sharing. And
no problem.
What would you say has been the biggest influence on you that you wish you had known sooner?
Well, the biggest influence on me, and I hope this is the same for you because I've met your mother, are role models, people like our parents or our brothers and sisters, if we're lucky to have them, friends and family, mentors, guardians, teachers, youth workers, people that really, are able to give you the benefit of their experience. You would always hope to get experience before you make a bad decision or the wrong decision, but actually making any decision gives you experience. You make the right one, okay, you work out how you've come to that conclusion. You make the wrong one, or it might appear to be wrong at the time, you can learn from that. So in terms of experience or advice that I wished I could give my younger self would be, Trey, just enjoy the moment. Honestly, enjoy the moment, because I remember being your age, what, 15, 16?
Yeah.
Hungry to be 18. At 18, I was hungry to be 21. At 21, I was hungry to be working so I could afford a car, and then, attract my eventual wife, which I should have had no chance of attracting way back when. But, you're always striving for more, and that's great. It's great to be aspirational, but you've got to enjoy the journey. You've got to enjoy the moment. And I remember meeting you at Wembley Stadium a couple of years ago now, and I used to work at Wembley Stadium every week of my life. As a young boy, I always wanted to go to Wembley. And then I eventually went to a cup match. And then, fast forward 10, 15 years, I'm working there every week. And I tried to never take it for granted, because one day I was going to walk in and it would have been the last time I worked there. So I think you should never take anything for granted, even if you're really struggling, even if it's difficult, even if the route that you're going down, you think, do you know what, this just isn't working for me. When am I going to get that lucky break? When times do change and you get that opportunity to move to the next level, whatever that may be, make sure you've enjoyed the process, make sure you can take something from it. So that's the only thing. Enjoy the moment, because cliched, but you never get this moment ever again.
Exactly. No, I definitely agree. Especially, as you said, like people around my age, we often think like we have so long just to get anything done, really. But it's about just being in the moment, like you said, and just trying to not actually like look into like I can't wait till I'm 80, anything like that, but enjoying the time that I have now.
It's funny, Trey, because when I was your age, all I wanted was to earn some money. I had a paper round, I cleaned cars, I did everything because I wanted the trainers that my friends had. We all get caught up into that cycle of wanting things and consumerism, and again, that's normal. My kids are exactly the same. But so therefore you go, I can't wait until I can drive, can't wait until I'm older, almost wishing your life away. But yet when you get to the grand old age of 42 like me, and your beard starts to go grey and your hair's receding, you want to look like you. I want a thick head of hair. I want, a smile without these lines. I want the future ahead of me. It takes a lot to be content at any point in your life. So what I probably should do now is accept that being 42 is a great place to be. 2 young children downstairs. And I'm sure there's people older than me that wish they were my age. I wish I was your age. So again, don't rush it all away. Of course you want the next thing and you want to achieve. If you're doing your exams, you want to have passed them. I get that. It's human nature, but try and enjoy the journey.
Exactly. Yeah, I definitely agree. And how did you prefer to influence others to change where they live their lives for the better?
I'm not an influencer, Trey, far from it. I suppose I can only give the same advice that people have given me. I'm very lucky to have had some really good people around me throughout my life. Not always family. My mum is probably my hero in that respect. She's, brought 3 children up on her own and given us all the opportunities that we could possibly ever wish for. So in that respect, my only ask of anyone in the world is to be grateful for what you've got, respect what you've got, whatever that is or what that might be. Wealth comes in many forms. Your health is your wealth. Your family, your friends are your wealth. Of course, money undeniably is wealth, and it's important, but it's not the key. So therefore, you've got to just appreciate what you have got. Dead easy to worry and complain, and we all do it. I'll probably do it tonight about something. Something's not right, or I'm disappointed with that, etc. But there's always someone going to be worse off, mate. There's always going to be someone in a worse position. The COVID-19 pandemic has proved that. I'm lucky that I've not lost a close family member to it. I know friends who have, but I've not lost my job, but yet some of my colleagues have. I'm able to walk out of the house and go for a nice walk around local parks, etc. We've got a garden. Other people haven't got that. So I'm acutely aware that any advice I give to anyone else has to be modified with my own experience. So it's just to appreciate what you've got and run with it. Make the best of it. Make the best of it.
I definitely agree, especially like how you said at a time like now, like many people often saying, "Oh, I wish my garden was big. I wish I could go out more." But what about those people who don't have the luxury to have a garden? Actually,
Totally agree. Yeah, there's many people don't have that luxury. There's lots of people that have been in lockdown on their own. I'm lucky. I've got my wife and 2 children. Yes, I've not been able to see my sisters and my mother recently. It's been difficult, but I've been able to, spend some time with the kids. The weather's been brilliant, hasn't it, in May? So I've been out in the garden with them. But there's many people in much, much worse, desperate situations. So, I have no right to complain. Therefore, going back to your question in terms of influencing others, it would only be to be grateful for what you have got. Yeah, we'd all look at things differently, wouldn't we? And that's human nature, sadly. But there's always someone worse off, mate. Always someone worse off.
Exactly, definitely. Like gratitude is definitely something that's really, really key. And what would you say people could do to stay motivated during moments of crisis?
I suppose you need to have objectives. What motivates me is having a plan, an objective. I like to achieve things. I like progress. I like to set my heart on things or targets. I've done that whether I was at school to get exams and exams to go to university. I had to save up to go to university. I had to work at university, but then I knew I wanted to do some travelling after that. So everything that I set my sights on, there was ways that I could do it. But it involved hard work. It involved, being committed, and the motivation to keep going was the end goal. What's the objective? What do you want to achieve from this? And it's like, people going to the gym. I'm not very good in the gym. I'm not as fit as I used to be. But if your motivation is to feel fitter, stronger, be better at your sport, or feel healthier, or you might want to have a 6-pack like you probably do. I see you, and when I see you on Instagram and on Twitter doing your running. So as long as you've got an objective and an aim, that's what motivates me. So I would imagine it would motivate other people, whatever their ambition is, whatever that goal is, no matter how small it is, no matter how big it is. The motivation there is that objective to achieve it. Certainly is for me.
Definitely, I think that does play a huge role. Just having that motivation to then keep you just working towards that end goal.
Yeah, it does, because you've set yourself a target, and then you know how far you are away from it, or how close you are. So if you've got a mentor or a coach in your sport, and they know that you've not put a good shift in the session, they'll tell you and say that you're actually further away from where you wanted to be. If it's something as simple as being a soccer player or a rugby player, cricketer, or an athlete, athletes are always trying to achieve a time. So if you're an Olympic 100 meters runner, you want to run under 10 seconds. If you Usain Bolt, you would have wanted to run under 9 seconds. For me, it's just, setting the targets and then knowing where I am on that journey. Am I overachieving? Am I underachieving? Do I need to do more? Can I have a rest day? Can I take the foot off the gas? Can I reflect in a bit of glory at the moment? Go, hey, things are going well. So I think that's the key.
Definitely, I totally agree. And what would you say is your passion?
Oh, loads of passions. I really enjoy what I do now. I must admit, we've got a real challenge on, whereby the tourism industry that I work in is battered and bruised. Our job is to attract people to Yorkshire. At the moment, we're telling them to, come back steadily when we feel it's safe and right to do so. So that's a challenge. Business has always been a passion ever since I was very young. Like I mentioned, having a paper round, and then washing cars, and then working in a local bar and a restaurant. I've always wanted to get some money behind me so I can do things with it. I remember buying a car when I was 18, £50 off my friend, £50 for a car, because I was convinced that I could turn it into a profit, and I did. I sold it for £55, made £5. But the point being is, that I quite enjoyed the marketing and the selling of it. Okay, I didn't make much money from it, but it was the process of going through that. So I've always enjoyed business. I've always, from a very early age, liked to, make my own decisions, which is why after university I did set up my own business, which I really enjoyed. It was really tough. It was a challenge, but it was my passion. I liked the competition of getting it right. I liked looking at problems and solving them. So that's always been my passion. Outside of work, sport, mad for any sport. English sports, American sports, football, cricket are my two favourites. But I've come to love American football and baseball and college sports. Turned that into a career to some extent, because I think I can always find a way towards making a career out of it. My family and my passion. I really love my home life and trying to be the best dad that I can be, although I fail miserably at times at it. My wife's the real strong parent in our household. I'm just like an extension of being the kids. But I'm trying my best. I love doing things like this with you, Trey. I love trying to, in any way positively influence a younger generation that ask questions like you do. You're bright, you're enthusiastic, you want to better yourself. If I can offer any advice like that, I will do, because I remember being your age and just doing what you're doing, asking other people that perhaps had been through a scenario or a circumstance that might help me through it. So I'm passionate about giving back, where possible. I think it's really important, as I mentioned before, to be grateful. So where you can, if you've got an opportunity to give back, and I don't necessarily money, people can give time, they can give their expertise, they can give the support. Yeah, if they've got money and they can afford it, great. But, everyone can give something, no matter what it is. And it's all valuable in its own way.
That is so important, because just when it comes to giving back, you often think, I don't have the money, but you're then able to give time, you're able to give resources, you're able to share your knowledge, and there's many other ways that you're then able to sort of pay it forward in a way.
Yeah, using my experience at Bradford City, we had a big volunteer group that helped clean the stadium, that kept the stadium in good shape. And these were people that were looking for work, they were out of work. We had a big disability football supporters club that enabled us to get so much achieved, so many campaigns off the ground, so much money raised. So again, giving comes in many forms: time, money, experience, expertise, support. And paying it forward, as you mentioned, is just one of the most important things you can do. It's giving other people the opportunities. So if you've got the opportunity, the whole point is to try and use that opportunity to create more for other people, and we can do it. I think of the news at the moment, the big story about Marcus Rashford. So he's a professional footballer, a millionaire. But he doesn't need to do what he's doing. He can afford to give some of his wage away to subsidise school meals. But what he's also done, the easiest thing would be to give money if he's very wealthy, but that's still a big decision. What he's done is given time, he's given his platform, he's given exposure to a cause, which is actually probably way more important, and has been proven to be more important than giving an amount of money, because he's enabled the government to make a significant change in their thought process to benefit thousands and thousands of families and children.
I definitely think that's really important. There's just as you said, there's so many different ways to just pay it forward to then enable those maybe in a tricky situation to actually hopefully get out of it.
Yeah, I keep hearing words like collaboration and working together to get through this pandemic. It's the first time the whole world sort of been connected with one common, not enemy, but issue. So we've all had to sort of come together. We've seen competing businesses come together to provide ventilators or masks for the NHS. So therefore, we're seeing everyone having a new appreciation of each other. Okay, we haven't to some extent over in America recently and what's happened from that. But I think actually the underlying message from COVID-19 has been that, we've got to appreciate our home lives. I've got to appreciate what's on our doorsteps. I mentioned tourism. So how many people jet off around the world all the time? Fine, great. I've done that myself, but I now appreciate what's on my doorstep and how lucky I am. So that sense of community and coming together is something that's quite powerful right now.
Definitely. I So definitely agree. And if you had a megaphone and you could say one thing to the world that would have a lasting influence, what would it be and why?
A megaphone to speak to the whole world. Now that is pretty cool. Isn't that called the internet, or isn't that called social media? It's everyone types what they want and it can go viral. What's the question again then? So if I had a megaphone to go on, what's the question again?
So it was, with the megaphone, you could say one thing to the world that would have a lasting influence. What would it be and why?
Probably not my words, but the words that I would live by. You know, you guys, we've only got one life, one chance. You know, and it's so much better to get on and share each other's diversity of thought, diversity of background, and you know, I really do enjoy getting to know other people's life stories. You know, so therefore, just let's all do our bit that we can do, whatever privileges we've been offered in life to help other people to enjoy the same experiences. You know, we can all achieve it. You know, one person can do a huge amount on their own, but never ever more than lots of people doing a tiny bit together. You know, that you know, it's so much quicker to get things done if we really buy into the same philosophy, the same energy, the same outcome, people wanting to accept that there's going to be differences in life. That's fine. Let's celebrate differences, but then, you know, celebrate the commonalities of what we all want. And I think most people do, Trey. You know, I think me and you want the same things in life for you and I and your family and other people. Most people do. We just have a different way of going about it and expressing those opinions, which unfortunately can lead to conflict, can lead to violence, can eventually lead to wars. But we're all sort of pursuing round about the same thing often, but sadly that manifests itself in very different ways, and it can be very painful and destructive if not understood.
It's really key how you said that about it can then lead to a load of other things if they're not understood, and it's because of the, like, maybe they may not have been taught from a young age things like emotional intelligence, or just being able to handle themselves in different situations, which then actually causes them to bottle up all them emotions, and then it gets to the point where they can no longer contain them.
Yeah, I think education plays a key role, doesn't it? If you're taught from a very early age what is right and wrong, and children are at the mercy of their influencers, which is why we're on this call now. You know, parents, guardians, old elder generations. So I think therefore it's really important that, you know, we understand that people will have blinkered views, they will have different views, they will have stereotypes that are wrong, and we need to challenge them. But you know, the key is education. And as you mentioned, if people haven't been taught from an early age how to use their aggression or to develop their emotional intelligence, it is very difficult. And it does manifest itself in conflict and difficult ways. But as I've seen on the news a lot recently, you know, the people that strike through that are the ones that are prepared to listen, learn, but then educate. And that goes both ways. You've got to educate other people if you've got that blessing, but you've also got to be prepared to educate yourself, you know, and not just go, I understand it, I get it. You know, I don't tell me I don't understand your issues or your problems or what you've gone through. You know, it's very difficult if you have lived a certain way in your life and you don't know anything different to try and break that down and try and put yourself in someone else's shoes. There is a great phrase, you know, before you make a decision, you know, try and walk 1,000 miles in someone's shoes first to try and understand why they've come to that decision. And it might be they don't know anything else. It might be they've been walking down one path all their life and they don't know that you can turn left or right or backwards. It might be that, you know, they've had positive reinforcement of an ideology or their thinking that reinforces their way to, they're not going to know anything else. You know, they're not. So it takes time to educate, but it also takes time to be educated. So big element of patience there.
Exactly. Yes, that's definitely something that's it does play a huge role, as you said, just like having those role models around you to then guide you in the right direction can actually potentially save you.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And one of a role model that we've spoken about that you might want to speak with in the next few weeks, a guy called Jamie Lawrence. He's a professional footballer, or was. Now works as a personal trainer. But Jamie, had a really tough sort of teenage life where he was influenced negatively, and ended up, falling into a life of crime and eventually going to prison. And that could have really meant a life of going in and out of prison and crime, and who knows, could have ended badly. It could have died, and he certainly saw some of his own friends die. But mentors around him, said, Jamie, there's another way to do this. There's another life for you if you want to change and go about this differently. But he needed positive role models around him to challenge him, to metaphorically grab him and say, Jamie, you've got more to give. This is how you will end up if you're not careful. So turned his life around whilst in prison, started playing for the prison team, came out of prison, again, positive reinforcement, role models outside of prison, eventually played non-league football, eventually played professional football, eventually played in the Premier League, eventually played for Jamaica, his country, and was gone on to write books, gone on to be a real motivator and influencer, and now he sees his role to influence young men and women who he fears and sees going potentially the way that he went, and doesn't want them to go any further. So that's a life well lived.
I definitely agree. I think that's definitely an amazing story, just how he wasn't able to sort of go deep into the dark rather than have a glimpse of the light and choose to go the other direction.
Yeah, and that's a really difficult thing to do, isn't it? Completely different. But if you think about people that are addicted to things, whether it's alcohol, drugs, you name it, it's really difficult to break the cycle. So you do need strong individuals around you, because at times you will waver, at times you'll, fall back into the bad habits. It's so difficult. That's why you need a real strong network of people that you can trust around you, that only care about your well-being. They're not interested in anything other than you. So when we talk about giving before, they're only interested in supporting you for you, not because what they can get out of it. So yeah, you need a strong network around you, and that's hard. Not a lot of people do have positive role models. So again, it's on you, Trey. It's on me to offer that support if people want it, or if we're seeing negative role models winning or dominating airtime or space, or young impressionable individuals, we've got to step in where we can and be brave to do that, and that's difficult.
Exactly. I definitely agree. That's so true. And what advice would you give to those who may have had their very own £1 million idea at a time like this?
Wow. So again, one of my good friends that I did go into business with said, you've got to turn over a lot of rocks in life. You've got to kiss a lot of frogs. And there's the famous story of the princess kissing the frog to find the prince. And didn't she have to kiss like thousands of them at one point? Point being is, you've got to keep going. That there are so many bad ideas that you have to go through to find a good one. So and there's lots of cliches about not being afraid to miss, and you've got to buy a lottery ticket to win a raffle, etc. So I don't believe in bad ideas. I just believe that you've got to go through that process of coming up with things, getting it wrong, and tinkering. It always leads you on to the next thing, or an alternate view of what you thought might have been right. So if anyone's got £1 million idea, ring me up first and I'll talk it through with you. Maybe I can help you do it. But in all seriousness, keep going. Keep going. Test it out with your friends and family, your network that you can trust. See what they think to it first. Hopefully they'll give you the honest feedback that you need and the confidence to maybe take it to the next step. Depending on what the idea is, you may need some funds behind you. You may need some materials to make it. It may be an online idea, so it might be digital. But if you really believe in it, you've got to keep going for it. You've got to just keep going until you've not necessarily you've heard no that many times that you give up, but you've exhausted all opportunities until you realise, do you know what, maybe the good idea that you had just isn't workable for whatever reason. But listen, we're now in a position whereby there's going to be a huge number of people unemployed. There's not going to be a lot of jobs because of COVID-19. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be out of work that at some point they're going to have to be really creative and come up with ways to make money. Another phrase being necessity is the mother of invention, i.e. when you really need to get something, to earn some money, to make something work for you, for your luck to change, you will often do it when you're at your wit's end, just when you're about to give up. Got to keep going, got to keep persevering, Trey.
Definitely. It's definitely important, because then by doing so, you're then able to actually see how much you're then able to achieve. And then if it doesn't work out, it may not be the right thing for now, but then if you're then able to just keep that in the back of your mind, you're then able to see when the problem shall arise that your product or service can then help those people.
Exactly that. At some point you've got to draw a line in the sand and say, right, I've invested too much time, effort, and energy and money into this, and my family and friends are now affected by it. My own mental health, my physical health, it's getting to the point where, come on, when is this going to turn? So maybe you stop, rethink it, put your energy into something else. And it might be a timing issue. It might just be that the timing's not right. Just think of all the people that have probably set up ideas and businesses before this, and they needed people to buy it or use it, and then all of a sudden there's no audience for it. You have to rethink it. You have to do it a different way. I'm thinking of some of the businesses that we work with that are food producers or work in the service industry. They've had to rethink how they do it. If previously you had to come into a shop to buy it, they're now doing home deliveries. They're now doing online deliveries. They're working ways to get their product. Yeah. Perseverance.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely agree. And what would you say is the biggest issue, or maybe even a problem that you are aiming to solve in your own industry?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, tourism is our industry. Our job is to attract people to come to a particular part of the UK, being Yorkshire, and our offer is unique to the country. We don't have the weather that the south of England has, or Spain or France or Italy. You don't come to Yorkshire for the weather. However, when the weather's great, it's the best place on the planet to be. So we need to develop a longer season. We need to give people reasons to come 12 months of the year. So that could be in February, it could be in March, it could be in April, August, September, October. So we need to move people's thinking away from just coming at a particular time of the year, i.e. summer or spring. But the biggest problem we've got right now is the coronavirus means that social distancing is in place, and people are not yet confident about traveling long distances or actually being able to spend time in hotels, book hotels or campsites or bed and breakfasts. So the biggest challenge we're facing now is not knowing when there is any certainty to reopen and then rebuild your business. So in that respect, that's the biggest challenge. If we knew there was a date that we could work to, 15th of June was when retail could open, the 4th of July is when hospitality may or may not open. Once we've got over those hurdles, we then know what we're up against.
I think that's really something that's really important, because then by knowing sort of like what you're up against, the obstacles that you may have to overcome, it then allows you to then put things in place to help you prepare for that.
Goes back to the objective we said earlier on. As long as you know what you've got to overcome, as long as you know the challenge ahead, you can work out a strategy around it. If you don't know what the outcome is, or the date that you're working to, or the problem you've got to overcome, it's very difficult. So you've just got to plan for various scenarios. It would be called scenario planning. So if that happens, we're going to do this. If that happens, we're going to do that. Or if that happens, we're going to have to do that. So plan for all scenarios. But that's time, that's money. And that can be a big problem if it's a project or a business. So yeah, you need some certainty. Businesses need certainty to commit investment or funds. I now have many staff on furlough, so the government are supporting them with the wages. I want to bring some of them back, but I'm not going to bring them back until I know that we're ready to go again and we can start earning some money to pay their wages. Otherwise, we'll go bust.
Exactly. Definitely. I think that's definitely something that's really important and something that we need to think about more. And what would you say was that pivotal point along your journey, and what did it teach you?
I think the pivotal moment has always been the same for me. Hard work will pay off. There's been so many times, Trey, I've just been on a long bus journey home when I was a kid, or a train or a long car journey, thinking, this is hard, this is tough. But anything that is tough, it teaches you a lesson. Anything that is worth doing is tough. So therefore, you're always learning. Every time you go down one road, it's a roadblock, you go left or right. You've just got to take the positives from it. You're always learning to some extent. So the pivotal point has been when you've had an element of success, you stop, look back and go, right, that was worth it, which therefore enables you to take the next challenge on and go, right, enjoy the moment this time. You know what success looks like. You've done it, you've achieved it, you've been there. So this time, try and enjoy it a little bit more, with the benefit of hindsight, knowing that, success does come with hard work. Always, anyone that you interview, anyone that you speak to that you would class as someone you respect or has been an influencer on you or in any way successful, there will be hard work at the core of everything that they've done. There's no quick, easy way to do anything.
And I think that's something that loads of people get confused, and especially around my age, because how technology is moving so fast, and they used to sort of this whole instant thing. Everyone's thinking, oh, I can get this now, but it's actually about putting that consistent work in and dedication so it then pays off in the long run.
Yeah, and it's impossible to really compute when you're young. My son is 9. He wants to be 10 now. He wants to be 11. He wants to go on games that are older than him. On his computer. He wants to. It's normal. It's human nature to be always striving for the next thing and wanting things yesterday. Instant success.
Yeah.
Because we see it in society now. You're always surrounded by advertising of aspirational products, of an aspirational lifestyle. So you want to be there now. But what they don't tell you in all the magazines and in the videos and in the social media posts is the journey up to it. How long it's taken someone to get there, what they've had to do, the sacrifices they've had to do. And that's the problem. It would be great if the marketing message was, yeah, I've achieved this, but here's how I did it. This was day one. Didn't look like this. Day one was very different, but today I've achieved whatever I've achieved, etc. Had this backstory to it, and that would help.
Definitely, because you definitely agree, because it allows them to put into perspective how they actually got that in the end.
Exactly that.
Yeah. And what are your views on the word legacy, and what legacy would you like to leave?
Wow. Yeah, I'm reading a book called Legacy at the moment, which you need to get, and it's clear about the definition of legacy, and we've referred to it a couple of times. The idea of paying it forward, making a statement to, I suppose, influence and support other people to maybe do something differently or better, change perceptions, opinion, the way of doing things. So if you think about the legacy of anyone in life that you respect or that they've done, it's how they've influenced you. I've had a family member, an uncle, die recently, and I just think he left a legacy of showing me what it was like to be a good father, a good uncle, a mentor, someone who was able to go out of their way whenever they were asked to support other people. So his legacy is that I'll do the same, and his son will do the same, and other people that came into contact with him will do the same. So that's his legacy, and that's how he will be remembered, not just on a gravestone or in a eulogy, at a funeral. It will be how people live their daily lives to try and reenact or do what he did because they were positively influenced. So, it's hard to say what my legacy would be because I suppose that's for other people. But I'd like to think that I bring 2 children up that are patient, that are responsible for their actions, that are grateful for the life that we've tried to give them, that they would in turn, offer the same patience and time and opportunities to other people. That would be a life well lived if I can bring 2 children up that do that. If I can therefore help other kids younger than mine or even myself to reflect and just try and enjoy their life the best they can, despite the circumstances that they'll be faced with. It's going to be tough for anyone over the next few years. That would be a nice legacy, to know that I might have positively influenced someone to strive for a better way of doing things, to be ambitious, to achieve and to go for it, and be confident in themselves that they can probably achieve more than what they think and what other people think of them. Every time I was told no in life, I thought, okay, I respect why you're telling me that, but I'm going to prove you different.
No, I definitely think that that's something that's really important. That you touched on several like key pillars there, really.
What's your legacy going to be, Trey?
I'm not too sure really. There's a number of things, but I think the underlying factor that I'd like to be remembered as is someone who's given back, someone who's encouraged others to take action on their dreams, and that's one of many things really. Yeah.
You've got plenty of time to work it out, mate. But if that's just one of them, wow, you're going to leave some legacy, and that's great. Isn't it good at your age to be even thinking about that? As we mentioned before, you don't know when things are going to end in life, and I don't just mean your mortal life. A job that you're in, a relationship that you're in, someone else dying or moving on or moving away. So you've got to cherish that. But legacies can be made all the time with anyone that you meet. A legacy can be a chance meeting with someone today because you help them. You see someone drop the shopping in the supermarket, you help them, you pick it up. That might be a little legacy for them. They'll go, do you know what? Because of that person's actions, I'm going to go do something good. So it's that chain effect, chain of events. Doesn't need to be a big grand statement that as I say, a superstar or a politician or a sports person did. We can all leave our own little legacies. If we can influence one person a tiny little bit, that's a legacy.
Exactly. It's the small things that count.
It really is. They all add up.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely agree. And what are your views on morning routines?
Morning routines?
Yeah.
Oh, if I get out of bed, it's a bonus. Do you know what? I have 2 young children, so I'm up very early because of them. I'd love to have a routine that would be to lie in bed a little bit longer. But I think having read a lot and seen a lot recently about depression and people that have had real mental illnesses, I think a lot of the key strands that come through having a strong morning routine is really crucial to setting yourself up for the day. That might be making your bed. It might be having a breakfast at a certain time. It might be doing your fitness session that then gives you the endorphins to attack the rest of the day. So I think it's really important that people understand that if the morning routine for them is the kickstart to the day, fine. I don't have a morning routine. I must admit, it's not something I've ever sort of done or needed to. I did for a while when I was running for a half marathon, so I needed to do it. But depends on your personality. I'm okay. I managed to motivate myself once I'm up and to do work and do things. But if you know that your personality needs that structure, that routine, and it works for you, then I think it's important to try and build that into your day.
I definitely think that's something that's key, because then just being able to then identify some of personality traits that you may have, you're then able to actually defer as to whether you need one or not.
Exactly that, yeah. So I'm not going to say they're good, bad, or indifferent for me. I don't have one, but I know other people do, and I know why they need them, and I know why it works positively for them. So I think you've got to assess your personality first, and what makes you tick and motivates you. And that little thing about the making the bed, it's almost like mini hurdles for people that need to just get over. Sounds something really simple, but actually, the research I've read and seen, making that bed, if you are an addict to something, or if you're struggling with mental illness, it's a big obstacle to overcome.
Yeah.
It's compartmentalized, and you can move on to the next one. Then it stops you maybe having those ulterior thoughts that might take you down a negative path and start the day off badly. It's like you've achieved an objective in the morning.
Exactly. Yeah, plays a huge role in the rest of the day. And lastly, could you share with the listeners where they can find you if they'd like to find out about any upcoming things you may have?
Yeah, if anyone's interested in my boring life, yeah, they can do. I do like social media. I use it as a tool for work. I use it as a tool to relax. I do like seeing what other people are saying. Sometimes it's ridiculous what people are saying, but often I follow people that inspire me, or I take their advice. So I'm on Twitter, which is at @JamesMason_78, the numbers. The company one, Welcome to Yorkshire, has got a big social following across Instagram, Facebook. The Twitter handle is @Welcome to the number Yorks, YORKS. And, that's an inspirational channel whereby you can see the wonderful things that you can do in the county, whether that's physical, geography, landscapes, visitor attractions that go back hundreds, if not thousands of years, food, drink, modern theatre, you name it. So that's how you can find us, and that's how you'll probably find me.
Thank you so much for sharing. I really do urge that you listeners go and check him out. I'd like to thank you for coming on the Influence Show today, James.
My pleasure, Trey. Keep going. You're an amazing young man.
Thank you. I do appreciate it. And I'd also like to thank you listeners for sticking to the end. And if you guys have any other questions, please do feel free to drop them in the comment section. And if you guys like to apply to possibly be on the show, please do feel free to email the email that's pop up on the screen. And I hope you guys have a great day. That's it from me. Bye.
Thank you.